Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to part 3 of this 7-year review. I really did not intend for this to become a mini-series. However, over the past 24 hours, there's been a lot of significant shifts. All shifts are significant, aren't they? Well, the main significant shift has been surrendering my ego. Honestly, don't know how this is going to turn out, but I do know this. This day had to come. You see, when I look back over the 7 years from 2011 to 2018, I always go back to the first 7 years. And if you've heard any of my earlier videos, and there's research to support this, that from the ages of 0 to 7, our culture has a significant influence on our personalities and who we tell ourselves that we are. Okay? So, going back to the first 7 years of my life, I told myself that I didn't have certain rights. Yes, that had been told to me, but I told it to myself. And I never wanted to tell this story from a place of being a victim. I told myself that I could not tell this story until I had overcome the effects of what happened to me. You see, I'm just gonna get to the point. And forgive me if I cry, okay? I'm crying from release. I'm crying from freedom. I'm crying because I can't say that I'm in the business that I'm in without doing exactly what I'm preparing other people to do. And that is to heal from trauma so that they can heal other people. I truly, truly believe, some people may not believe this, but that's not my story. That's not my business. What I believe is, yes, we all make contracts when we decide that we're going to come into this atmosphere. And those contracts mean that we are signing up for events that happen in our lives that then become the purpose of our lives to overcome. There it starts. September 1982. The beginning of my sophomore year of college. We used to come to school the weekend before classes would start, like middle of the week, late September. I'm finally gonna say this in public. I was raped. That didn't kill me to say that. Now, I've said that to my friends who I call my band of brothers. I've said it to other people one-on-one. But I thought that if I ever said it out loud, publicly, that would be my demise. And you may say, well, hey, there's that whole Me Too moment. See, in 1982, there was no term called date rape. There was no term called acquaintance rape. Okay? If you were around somebody and you were partying and something happened, it happened. Okay? Even if you did say no. Even if you did fight back. And I did those things. And I cried out to God. And y'all, the part of me that I had said that died was the part of me that had called out to God. And thus began an odyssey of me running from myself, running from anybody that got close to me, because we're not talking about somebody I barely knew. We're talking about somebody that I trusted, who told me that they were going to be like my big brother and they was going to school me on what to look for. And instead, remember, I'm not coming from a place of being a victim. Everything that has gone to emotional physical therapy, I'm telling y'all, this is not a gimmick. This is not hype. Everything that has gone into this has been for the purpose of healing myself. And then somehow it spun out to healing other people. But you know what? You can't heal other people. You can't help other people heal until you deal with your own stuff. And I've already dealt with it. But for some reason, I had to do this. I had to do this to show myself, to show not just myself, this self, but that little girl self, that I was going to stand up for her, that 19-year-old girl, Ardella, that while she wasn't responsible for his actions, she was responsible for healing herself. I never even divulged any of this when I would go to counseling after an episode of, suicide attempts. Not proud of that either. But it's true. I know people look at me and they think, well, she got 3 degrees, she got this, she got that. And none of that can heal you of trauma. None of that can change your mind. And when I talk about the last 24 hours, if I could only tell y'all how much I have felt within my body, my energetic body, my auric body, how much I needed to release. And then I get up this morning and I'm going through my morning rituals and I'm meditating and I hear, all of this has been for you. All of this has been for you. Everything that you're doing has not been to manifest something else in your life. All of this has been for you to manifest you. To manifest me. So while I looked at myself under some really, really, really harsh, critical lenses, I beat myself up. When I surrendered my ego, because ego was saying, don't do it on Facebook, like it's not necessary. All these years it's been a matter of, I don't have to go public. I don't have to tell my story. Why do I need to tell my story? I was trying to negotiate with God. Why do I need to tell my story? Because if I tell my story, then people are going to blame me for what happened to me. And it's like the only thing that matters is that you don't blame you. That you accept responsibility for you, for coming up out of that. I remember when I told my parents, can you believe? I didn't tell my parents until 2010. Remember that movie that Tyler Perry put out that had, let's see who I was in that movie. Anika Rose, I forget her name, for Colored Girls. Yes, sitting in the movie theater with my oldest daughter. And that scene where the young lady, the dancer, Anika Rose, her character, and she had been pursued by this guy who just seemed like he was such an upstanding citizen. Y'all, all I can say is, as I was watching that scene play out, and I saw the look in his eye, and I saw how she had finally let down her guard, okay? And everything about her, I was looking at me, okay? You think I'm a free spirit now. Before, I just loved to move, to dance. I loved expressing myself. And when I saw that look, when that guy came in her apartment, literally I was sitting in the theater, and my daughter, and I started like breathing really heavy, and I know I'm bringing it back up, so you know I'm about to do Ho'oponopono and tap. But I was sitting there and watching this, and I could feel it. I knew what was going to happen. And I was sitting there gripping the armrest in the movie theater, and I was saying, no, 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 please, no. And my daughter looks over at me. She's like, Ma, what's wrong? I mean, I was back there in 1982, all over again, watching this. And I remember texting my god brother, and I told him I was dying. I was falling apart in the movie theater because I was watching this movie. And my daughter didn't understand what was going on. And so, of course, I'm sitting there and I'm trying to calm her down from watching her mama have a breakdown. And I got through that, but I knew that it was time for me to come clean to my parents. And so I told my father, who at the time was 90 years old, and then I told my mother, and of course neither one of them knew what to say. What do you say to your child when your child says, I was violated? I remember when the news came that the perpetrator had died. And this is when I first disclosed it to anybody publicly. Got the phone call. And my then boyfriend said, hey, he died. And I said, good. And I meant it. I meant it, y'all. Later on I would forgive, but in that moment I did not have any forgiveness in my heart whatsoever. And so I told my then boyfriend, who is still a very, very good friend. That's one thing I can say. I don't have too many exes that I'm not friends with, and just friends, okay? But they all know my story, because I went to him, and I railed. You can ask my band of brothers. I screamed, I hollered, I said, y'all knew. And I remember him saying to me, do you actually think that if we knew that we would have left him standing? And honestly, I couldn't answer because I didn't know. Wow. I would later go on to share it with someone else who, you know what? Those things that we left those things that we leave unhealed will attract more into our life, okay, of what we don't want. And so I shared it with somebody and they used it against me. So I clammed up again. But today, there is no going back. This is live. This is Facebook Live. And I'm broadcasting the fact that, and I don't like using the word victim, and maybe that's my ego, I don't know. But I'm no longer a victim of this. I am a wounded healer who has healed. That's who I am. That's where it all comes from. Thank you for those people who have watched and listened. And if you have judgment, oh well, that's not my business. My business was to stand up for Ardella. And that's what I did. Be blessed.